It is one of those things you go, okay, especially after October 7th, take out Hamas. You know, you chase them down in Iran, chase them down all these places. You go find these tunnels that are purportedly everywhere. You fill them up with water, kerosene, I don't care, whatever. You know, drown the rats out, set them on fire, whatever you do. Like, I think you could have gotten away with pretty much anything. Pour acid through the tunnels, you know, melt.
It's right up Mossad's alley.
I mean, come on. I think you could have done a bunch of that, and then, you know, hopefully you have someone in mind to prop up, perhaps, for the new Palestinian leadership. You know, some leader of the community that goes, thank you so much for taking away Hamas. We look forward to normalizing relations and blah, 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 blah. But, of course, they didn't do that. And, of course, Netanyahu doesn't want a two-state solution. He wants that land back, that waterfront property. And so they didn't. They just keep going. Welcome to Loaded Talk. I am your congressman, the third most popular candidate to ever be. I'm Frank, and along with me, as always...
What's up, planet Earth? I'm Bean.
Bean. Okay, Beans. Beans and grand beans. Step beans alike. I don't know. Just saying words. So, like, this week, this month, I guess, you know, maybe for a year or more, Israel, more than any other nation, has really been in the news. You know, there's a whole lot of Russia, Ukraine for a while, U.S. election, all that. After October 7th, Israel has been busy. And we have been, I think, appropriately critical at times about Israel's actions, past and present, and maybe future. And I don't think that we've gone overboard. I think it's always the pro-Palestinian side, I think, has been people that are rah-rah Palestinian can sometimes turn a blind eye to Iran, what they actually stand for, what they actually do, Hamas, what they actually stand for, what they actually do, and too much trust can be given to bad actors who are over there, some of whom definitely would like the total destruction of Israel. And that is true. And I think that the people who are super pro-Israel turn a blind eye to the fact that Israel often lies to us, especially during military conflict or just shooting missiles into Palestine. Of course, Hamas lies too. So it's been typically, I guess, in my lifetime, there's been plenty of conflicts between Israel and, you know, whatever is Gaza, you know. Iran has been saber-rattling for a while about destroying Israel, and other nations from time to time do the same. Other nations will attack, and there's also proxy groups, of course, to say they're doing this because of the Palestinian treatment, and some people just don't like Israel, you know. But it always seems to come in little waves. There's some rocket fire, there's a ceasefire. There's rocket fire, there's a ceasefire. Hey, we're talking about a two-state solution. We're going to have peace talks with the President of the United States. We've come to an agreement. Agreement falls apart. And so this happens, you know, constantly. But it always seems like it's little bursts, and then it's kind of back to status quo. Nothing really changes, and we go on about our life. This time, it just keeps going. As I've mentioned before, as you recall, you know, when this stuff started popping off, October 7th was so bad that, especially taking the hostages back, the hostages they chose to take, you know, I point out at the time that I was not sure how this thing gets resolved without the total elimination of one people or another. Not that we were rooting for it, but Israel was going in hot, very hot. The only way to stop them would be to basically take out their military capabilities. And if Hamas was lucky enough to actually do that, to neuter Israel's military, Iran would be there in 2 seconds to help, and probably other groups to take them down for good. There would be fleeing and exodus and all that kind of stuff. Well, of course, Israel's military might is substantially better than Hamas. And then we found out it's substantially better than Iran. And that Iran had a lot of stuff to say, but not a lot to back it up with. Iran was kind of a quick thing. They killed a bunch of scientists, which might end up proving like what creates the longest stability with the nuclear program, assuming they don't just purchase nukes, But when we don't know exactly how much damage was done to the nuclear facilities, especially inside the mountain. Trump's first thing he came out with was total destruction, 100% complete. Other people did analysis. I don't think that's possible. Reality somewhere in the middle. It's that we probably did a substantial amount of damage. We probably, I can't imagine we did not disrupt the power and water flowing into this facility, which that in and of itself could help take out, centrifuges or what have you. These things aren't getting cooled. There's going to be a problem. And then you have, international atomic agencies or whatever saying that although, to whatever degree these facilities were taken out, that doesn't stop someone from starting over again. This is not new technology at this point, and so you got the mines, and you just go, well, let's get back to work on it. So Israel taking out, whatever it was, a dozen of the, nuclear scientists that headed their program, that might be harder to replace than the machinery and whatever that they lost. So that might really delay things coming back. But anyway, so to whatever degree that's taken out with the help of the United States, of course, we saw that Iran basically can't do anything against Israel, which means, Syria, pick a nation over there. They don't have anything they can do. Saudis just because they have us in their pocket, and we'd be like, you two need to get along. Please don't do this. But Saudis have been getting, at least outwardly, more friendly with Israel as time's gone on. So anyway, Israel is waiting for some hostages to be returned. I think at least one of them is American. And that's been kind of a bright red line. Return our hostages and we're down with the ceasefire. Don't, and we'll just keep doing what we're doing. Problem is, what they're doing is pretty devastating.
Is there anything left?
I was going through the Google Maps that updated in, I don't know, how many months ago was that when they updated like the satellite view of Gaza?
I have no idea.
You brought it up on the show one time, so that's how I learned about the update. But northern Gaza does not look good. Southern Gaza looks better. It's definitely as opposed to blocks being missing, there'll be a block largely intact that's missing one building. Or one building here, maybe one over there, maybe some with two or whatever. But when you get to northern Gaza, it's there's a lot missing. How'd you end up on Map Route Pro?
I wanted.
So as this has gone on, a lot of people, because I think there's the obviously like we're talking about, there's the super pro Israel camp, there's the super pro Palestinian camp, and then I think at least in America and probably Europe, there's a huge chunk of people who are in the middle. Here, do we want to browse a little bit as we
2025?
Yeah, it was 2025. It didn't have the date. So look, if you get up here in northern Palestine, zoom in. So actually, those are fine. But
My God.
here we go. Back up to the border.
When you're zoomed out, seeing the gray against the green.
Well, yeah, and some of them, I mean, there are intact buildings too. But like, here's an example. Like, there's some intact buildings that clearly have chunks missing out of them. So just because they're not destroyed doesn't mean they're really safe. But now that, I mean, I'm sure you can seek shelter in there. But you can see there's just scrolling around randomly. There's like chunks missing from everywhere. When you go further south, like to the Blue Beach Resort's temporarily closed. Yeah, that could just be a park. It's also difficult with the whole desert thing.
If it's not a park, it is now.
Yeah, right. But yeah, once you get further south, like it gets a little bit better. Here, how far south am I? I don't want to go too far. Okay. Cotton Eunice. Yeah, you zoom in, you go. Yeah, these buildings are intact. This whole square is kind of good. And then every now and then you'll just see...
There's streets. I mean, that's a plus.
There's streets, yeah. So as you see, like this place is largely intact. I don't know. I was scrolling earlier. I'm sure at some point we'll come across. Anyway, most of this is intact, and you'll just see, something missing. That's a nice little municipal stadium. Maybe it's not that great. I can't believe that's the other thing. Okay, I think that obviously this system is not a good system. Israel goes, hey, you can't be your own country, but you can be your self-managed region. So you don't actually have any freedom to decide things about borders, and you can't walk over here. You can't walk you're trapped here unless we give you permission, and you should figure out your own stuff. Now they provide water, they provide power because Gaza has not done a lot of that. But when you hear some of the very pro-Palestinian side, they go, it's a prison camp, it's a settlement, it's a, what do they call it? Not a camp, but they always call it something that makes it sound like there's tents everywhere, as opposed to, like very tall buildings and, apartments, and it's a dense area, but especially a municipal soccer stadium. If this was a total just prison camp, there probably wouldn't be a municipal stadium. Municipal does imply that a government paid for it too. Now, whether it was Israel or some sort of Palestinian Authority and all that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The bloop, bloop, bloop. So it's just another example of how there's just too much BS out there. So as I was beginning to say, there's a very pro-Israel side, there's a very pro-Palestinian side. And I think the vast majority of people in America, in Western world, is kind of in the middle. They don't know enough, and part of that is because no one's that honest. And because of all the dishonesty, when there are honest people that pop up, it's kind of hard to go, I totally trust this person. I totally trust this person. So most people are like, well, I don't know. They used to be. Yeah, I want to be. I guess I support Israel. They're Western like we are. They're more familiar, and I just hope they figure something out. I think that's kind of how people have been traditionally. This bombing campaign, this whatever you want to call this, war with this. I guess you'd have to call it a civil war. It is their kind. I mean. Right now, the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, they're technically part of Israel. They have, by all accounts, they're not independent nations. The two-state solution has never been established. So it's just, you're just bombing the hell out of your own country, which some places frown upon, I'm just saying when Syria or Iraq is doing things to their own people, when we go, well, we should do something about that. Technically, that's what's happening here. They're bombing the hell out of their own people. Anyway, so throughout this, as they level more and more, as the more pictures come out of dead children, as the numbers are, the numbers of casualties are maybe 100,000, largely civilian deaths. It's looking worse than, everyone likes to make the World War II comparisons. It's looking worse than Dresden and London. Like it's not looking good. And it's, there's always a story behind every bombing, why it was necessary. There's military outposts, blah. Military outposts, blah. But as this is going on, and lots of civilian infrastructure is getting destroyed, especially in the north, where it just looks like all of it's being destroyed, the sentiment is turning on Israel. I think the people in the middle are still going, I don't really know what's going out there, but I think Israel should stop. I think it's kind of the opinion of the unwashed masses. It's like, I don't totally understand it. I'm not going to say words like genocide or things like that. I don't really know, but I think it needs to stop. It's not a fight. It's not a fight. At this point, it's a punitive thing. It is, we will continue striking until, you don't strike anymore and all of our people are back. And then, Palestine, the Hamas said, you attack us, we attack you. So it's always, they started, they did it first. But either way, the strikes will continue, until morale improves. So along with this, I think as this, I don't want to say global sentiment, but kind of global sentiment is turning more towards, is Israel the bad guy here? As that turns, there definitely gets to be more propaganda about what they're doing. There's more, and I think a lot of people are quicker to jump on it and believe negative things right off the rip. And part of that's because Israel's dishonest. But, like I was saying, Hamas, super dishonest. Iran, super dishonest. It's, so I guess I'm kind of like wanting to pause a little bit and look at everything, because it is definitely, I am definitely noticing a lot more blatant anti-Semitism, especially online, which I know Twitter's not real life and all that, but and not anti-Semitism and that criticize Israel, but anti-Semitism and just like there's an article about some woman, I forget who it was. Her last name is Jewish last name, and you just click on the comments, and it's like, Jew. Who would have thought? Enemy of the state. Like they've got all these different ways. If someone is a Jewish American, born in America, Jewish religion, like there's a lot of people that just go, enemy of the state, dual loyalty, and all this kind of stuff, and it's just become. Big accounts. Jake Shields, former UFC fighter who became sort of a political commentator. He was a Trump guy and all that. People on the right were like, hey, he's pretty good. And he took a hard turn where he's very critical of like Jewish people, not Israel, but Jewish people. And another big account, who's that millionaire guy, like Dan Blazarian or whatever his name is. He's just like, he probably does some roids or whatever. He's kind of this jack guy, and he's like, I don't even know how he makes his money, but he likes to hang out with like smoking hot models, drive sports cars, and he's kind of like a manosphere type guy where he's just like, look, I'm super successful. I like hanging out with babes, drinking whiskey, smoking cigars, driving sports cars. And you go, yeah, no, that sounds pretty good. And now he's also not a big fan of the Jews. So I don't know. It's become a bit worrisome. I don't know. I know that was kind of a rambling mess, but how do you feel about all this that's been going on, both domestically and abroad?
Oh, I noticed the same things you're noticing. It's definitely amplified. People are, I guess, less inclined to hold back. And I don't know whether it's driven from their peers, or maybe they've been bottling it up for a while, or maybe they deal in industries where there's excessive control by Jews. I don't know. I mean, the music industry and the movie industry are heavily controlled.
Yeah, entertainment.
So if that's influenced your opinion, I can understand it. I wouldn't put my opinion as a blanket opinion.
Hey, make it go back to you. I don't know why it's not going back.
I'm sorry. Check.
All right. Shit. Anyway, continue.
But yeah, yes, I have noticed in my scrollings or my infinity scrolls, initial comments, the Jews are the problem, and it's like when whatever subject matter it is, and I'm just like, how did you tie that together? But okay,
yeah, and like Nick Fuentes has become huge. I think he used to be just sort of a voice out on the internet. People would debate him, and he always had this sort of. He kind of did the David Duke sort of thing, where instead of just coming out and being like, I don't know, like N-word and K-word and all these things like that, it was just like, well, I'm here to talk from the perspective of being a proud white Protestant American, and so. Who's critical of Israel, but as he goes on, you go, no, you've got lots of thoughts there, And then he befriended Kanye when Kanye became a Nazi, of course, which really made his stock rise. But he appears to be a sharp kid, and which is problematic because as much as I hate the concept of the dog whistle, like, oh, that's just hidden language for whatever. There are ways to bury a lead, to bring someone along, and then you get them nodding, you go, and that's what Jew's the problem. You go, what? But so I don't know. His stock is definitely on the rise. I'm sure he's making a full-time living as a commentator online, which is not ideal, But I can't, it seems to me, and it seems, I'm happy that a lot of people, especially like on the right side, have taken off the rose-colored glasses when it comes to Israel. They can do no wrong. They're just our allies. They're just like us, our greatest ally, and all this kind of crud. I'm glad at least some people are beginning to question that and accept that they are a government running their own country that has their own wants, their own direction they want to go, and they're going to do whatever they feel they have to. That's not always good. Just like everything we do is not always good. So I'm glad the rose-colored glasses are coming off for some people, but I don't know. It seems that I don't know. It seems like this response October 7th has actually hurt Israel more than helped them.
It's almost become cool.
I mean, it's much easier if you're on a college campus or, if you're a group of people, then they're not all flying Trump flags. Even then, if you go to pro-Palestine position, you're less likely to get called a name. You're less likely to catch any grief. It's sort of become the default acceptable mainstream position. The cool thing, like you said. So I don't know. So as much as it's hurting their stock in the PR sort of world, I don't know that they're going to stop. Because at this point, they've destroyed so much of Gaza, as we've talked about. They've really decimated Iran's capability, both militarily. They've exposed what a weak nation that they are, that they don't really, which is, if you're Iran and all of a sudden you just got kind of owned immediately.
Internally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just left and right, just owned. Well, if you're China and Russia, people like that, and you're talking about, different ally sort of things. You know, you give this to me, I give this to you. We'll take all these partners. Suddenly, Iran doesn't look like the force to be reckoned with. You know, hey, in the Middle East, watch out for Iran. Now they just kind of look like, I don't know, anybody. Libya, Syria, just whoever. It doesn't matter. They're just another one. They're just another one. And they don't have anything to offer. They're not, they lost in 10 days to basically just Israel with us popping in, you know, at the end there with a surprise attack. But 10 days, they're done. So what are you going to do on the big stage? You know, I guess you'll give us some cannon fodder or something for the front lines, but you don't bring much. But now that Israel has already preemptively, you know, did a military strike, direct action on another country, and basically gotten away with that, like there's no consequences. And what they've been doing in Gaza, people are not liking it, but they haven't lost U.S. support yet, and they're only like the favorable view of Israel is only down to like, I think like 60% unfavorable. So it's still essentially 50-50. And so if you're at this point where you've killed 100,000 people, you've taken out miles and miles of this area, I don't know why you would stop. I think what you do is you come up with excuses. You know, I guess, judging by the map, start north, just keep bombing, and then that's a part that probably doesn't go back to the Palestinians. You know, that's probably a part that gets gobbled up by Israel. While they're doing that, of course, over in the West Bank, they're still doing the settler thing where they're taking over a town at a time. So I think right now the view is this is the time to do it.
To get as much done as possible.
Mm-hmm. It's not cutting to you all the time. I don't know what's happening.
Check.
But yeah, to get as much done with the, you know, obviously the preference would be get it all done. You know, like they don't want a two-state solution. They never have. There is a percentage of the population, of the elected officials in Israel that do have a view that, you know, Israel should return to the Old Testament Israel of controlling the whole region. And they come at it with, you know, sort of that religious fervor versus just sort of political stuff. So I just think that, I don't know. I think that they're going to go for it. And I think as they do more of that, I think there'll be more people domestically or in the Western world who I think it becomes more and more unfavorable. And I think I think Jewish people in the Western world also get lumped all together. So I don't know. I see it getting worse still.
What if time, like, let's just fast forward. They've decimated all of Gaza. What do they do after that? Because they're so used to bombing.
No, well, I think at that point they just throw a party on the beach. They go, hey, we got our waterfront back. I mean, at that point you have, I looked it up. What is it, like 110 square miles or something that you've recaptured? You basically get the city of Detroit back. So now you just go, hey, let's start the demo, start the construction, let's start selling too. Like, that's when BlackRock comes in. I was just
going to say, hey, BlackRock.
Bring your checkbook. But yeah, I think out by the water there's resorts. I think probably some nice waterfront villas. They might bring in a little channel and really do some things. But yeah, I think it's development like crazy. I think they do development like crazy. I think they start reaching out internationally to prominent Jewish Americans and Europeans and whatever, you know, like 8-9 figure kind of people, and go, hey, you want to get on the ground floor of this beautiful thing, you know? So I think they do. I think they try to fill it in as quickly as possible, and yeah, that's what I think. And then I think they do the same thing in the West Bank. I think the West Bank, they're nibbling because you don't have Hamas. You have the Palestinian Authority or whatever. Because they're not a terrorist organization, you can't get away with just, if they're not firing bombs towards you, you can't fire bombs towards them. You can't fire missiles at them. And so with that, they just seem to be nibbling. And so I don't know. France recently came out and said that they would take Palestinian refugees, and then later came out like we're going to recognize Palestine as the UN as a independent nation. You go, hey, who cares what you do? You're France.
Right.
But it is interesting. You go, I'm going to take Palestinian refugees. You go, oh, okay. So are you helping Palestinians, or are you helping relocate Palestinians out of Gaza?
Interesting.
Yeah. So how are you supporting? Is it a humanitarian thing, or are you actually helping the greater, for lack of a? It's such a loaded term, Zionist. But is it furthering a Zionist thing, just in a Jewish homeland Zionist? Not. I don't know. It gets loaded up with
I still think that that definition needs to be expanded. Everyone uses that word and applies it to like a Zionist or Zionism to like every Jew.
Right.
But I think true Zionists will kill their own people to push the state of Israel.
So like a true Zionist is someone who wants a Jewish state, but fuck the world, whatever it takes, in your opinion.
In my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm using the more milder version, just, people that think there should be a Jewish state in Israel, grow it. So, yeah, I don't know. I think France could be helping one side or the other. I don't know which one. And you mentioned Canada came out and said they're going to recognize them too. The only thing this really does, because England said that they might, but there's conditions and all this kind of stuff.
There's conditions.
Yeah, I forget what they needed. Maybe they're like, well, maybe if you release all the hostages and stop firing all them missiles, then we'll recognize you, I think.
That's exactly how it went.
We were just thinking, me and the boys were at the pub, we were just thinking if you didn't have all these people in there, maybe we could support you.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that was audio of the Prime Minister. That's when we need AI. Just pop up. Is it Keir Starmer? His name sounds like a Nazi, but yeah. I'd like some more marmalade. Anyway, but the only thing that would do, right? So say that England and Canada and France come out in the UN. I forget what their council is, but they all go, hey, we recognize Palestine. Then in that, it's like the National Security Council, or I guess not national, but anyway, there's always committees and all that kind of crud. So it would leave the United States is the sole nation in that group that doesn't recognize Palestine, or Gaza Gaza as Palestine, the independent nation. Which, theoretically could put pressure on the United States to do something, or it doesn't because it's the UN. And if you want to put pressure on us, if you don't like what we're doing, how about you don't meet in New York? Why don't you go someplace else? We'll sell that property. All right. I don't know. I guess that's just a rambling kind of thing of why we're looking at some stuff today. I guess I'm... Personally, selfishly, I'm kind of over this thing. I'm over the pro-Palestinian people the extremes of them devolving into essentially Nazi rallies. I don't like that. I'm over the pro-Israeli side where somehow Israel is a perpetual victim throughout this entire thing. As opposed to being this if anything, they've proven over the last 2 years that they are a military force to be reckoned with. They're an economic force to be reckoned with. I mean, they are a developed country that has to be taken seriously. They're, not a huge country, but that doesn't matter all that much, other than just it's easier to surround them. So I'm tired of that perpetual boohoo Israel thing. Think about when Iran was striking, when they were striking each other, And so I was following a couple accounts to just see what was up, and the IDF would release things like, a missile struck in Tel Aviv, and we have 3 to the hospital, 1 with a leg injury, and 2 with severe anxiety. And you go, wait, what? Like, anxiety? This, and not for nothing, reporting Jewish people with anxiety. It's kind of Woody Allen's whole thing. He made a career off of this.
Have you been to the Diamond District?
This is just not that cutting edge of a problem. But anyway, so you see things like that, and it's like, oh yeah, it's like, we got hit, and 2 people got nervous. You go, okay. They had to go to the hospital because they really could use a Valium. All right, well, I guess, And then they go, they struck into a populated center. And you go, right, where your missile launchers were, right? Yeah, but people live there too. It's like, well, you put them there. You put the missile launcher there, and you fired missiles out of it towards them. And they go, hey, let's take out that missile launcher. And where that was up to you. But throughout that whole thing, it's just like, poor us. Even though they went out of their way to directly strike Iran. But every strike that came back, they're like, these bloodthirsty monsters and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know. I'm tired of all of it. I just want it to end. Let's have some damn peace. Or I don't know. So it's been getting to me. And I just wish there was more straight information that came out of the region, because everything is in one camp or the other. Here's something that has been... So we're going to impugn everybody on this one, right? So the New York Times, and people may have heard about this already, it's kind of been making the rounds. New York Times posted this story about famine in Gaza. And so they're talking about how Israel has cut off aid, cut off providing their own aid to Gaza, because it was part of a ceasefire deal. Ceasefire, return the hostages, we'll provide aid and everything. They stopped, or they didn't give hostages, or they stopped giving hostages back, or whatever. And so Israel said, well, we're not giving aid now. Okay, and so you go, well, a deal's a deal, So if that was the deal, you should do it, right? There are international groups providing aid, theoretically. Some people say Israel blocks that aid. Hamas has a proud reputation of intercepting that aid and making sure that their military forces always have food at their disposal. Anyway, so there's an article, and it was about starving children, basically, and famine. And so they focused on this boy named Muhammad. And there's a picture, heart-wrenching picture. There's a couple of these that are coming out where these kids, they look bad. They look scary bad. And you look at them, and it's hard to look at them. You don't even look at them that long. You go, and you go, this is horrible. Like, this has to end, But then, if you do look at it for a little bit longer, sometimes you go, there's like 4 people in this photo. How come none of them are starving? Like, all of them look pretty okay, Anyway, so New York Times writes this whole article, and so then they had to issue not a correction necessarily. They say it is, what is this, an editor's note, okay? And pop over here. Pop. Spokesperson for the New York Times says children in Gaza are malnourished and starving, as New York Times reporters and others have you documented? We recently ran a story about Gaza's most vulnerable civilians, including Mohammed Zakaria al-Mutawak, who is about 18 months old and suffers from severe malnutrition. We have since learned new information, including from the hospital that treated him, which is Israel treating him, by the way. Like, Israel offered treatment to this child. The hospital that treated him and his medical records, and have updated our story to add context about his pre-existing health problems. Oh, he had something. This additional detail gives readers greater understanding of his situation. Our reporters and photographers continue to report from Gaza bravely, sensitively, and at personal risk so that readers can see firsthand the consequences of war. So that's a little note. That note doesn't even show up in the article, and this is not New York Times' main account with 50 million followers. This is their New York Times communications. It's at NY Times PR press release. So it's not, as opposed to 50 million people, they sent out their correction to about 50,000 people or 60,000, whatever it is, but a fraction of the number. Also, he didn't just have, it was like spinal bifida or something like that, and this other kid had another, just, even in a Western country without a war zone, a big, these are like serious issues. I'm trying to remember the other one. All these names are too many syllables. Cystic fibrosis. That was one. He either had cystic fibrosis or spinal bifida or whatever the hell. But there was a couple of things like that, or a couple of pictures that we saw of the children. And this is par for the course of what Hamas has done. 2 people die in a missile strike after they strike at Israel. They get 30 people to lay out there and pretend to be dead. Sometimes they scratch their nose or whatever, and they go, oopsie doopsie, we've been revealed, or they sneeze. I actually really enjoy the videos of all the fake dead people. It's fun. It's fun to just watch, like, that one idiot. Like, it's like, damn it, Chad. Like, you gotta keep your arm down. He's like, oh, my face is just so bad. Back to being dead.
Well, then they go, we'll just use old footage.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, because if there's a couple of these where I'm like, that kid looks familiar.
Yeah. Yeah. And, yeah. And they do that. And during post-October 7th, Israel may have used some old footage themselves here and there. But yeah, so this is a big problem. So the New York Times, the paper of record, the paper that, the proudest tradition in America, every journalist in America, like, this is the gold standard. For people in America, not that many people read the New York Times. It's, it's probably more than many other papers.
But they didn't even say the health problem. They just said he had health problems.
Yep, pre-existing conditions or whatever. Is this?
You're still leaving it open.
Yeah, it's still not reporting what it was. And when you go into the article, let's see, they made it free. Let me see if I can find this real quick.
Of course they made it free.
Well, they go, well, it's a free article because, oh, shoot, I'm not saying done. Too complicated. All right. But they added their own note. They added their own note at the end of the thing saying, like, an editor's note was added to this to correct something or whatever. But they don't have the editor's note. They just note that there was an editor's note. And so it's tough because you go, okay, you didn't do good journalism where you didn't look this up at all. You just took it at face value. Because, Israel was kind of screaming or whatever, where they go, we offered treatment for these children. Like, it's not a lack of, like, yes, they're malnourished too, but that's not why they look like that. They look like that because they have these, like, genetic disorders that cannot be solved. But, like, being a little malnourished in a war zone is not a crazy thing. I wish it wasn't going on. And then Israel goes, all this nonsense coming out about us, like, we wouldn't do this, we wouldn't do that. This is ridiculous. We do nothing but good things all the time, nothing but good things. And then you kind of zone out of that. Yeah, right. But the right wing, like in America, right wing news has been all over this. Same with Twitter and everything, where it's, they're using it to dunk on the New York Times, and they should. On the libs and all that kind of stuff, where you go look at this dishonest coverage. They want to criticize Israel so bad that they're going to use basically fake information, bad information, propaganda provided by Hamas, and peddle it through like the paper of record to get everybody on board with it, And they're not wrong. They're not wrong in that regard. But that being said, there are still issues going on. Let's see. I should have gone over this one more time. This is also New York Times for what it's worth. Some of Israel's most important Western allies, under political pressure from voters appalled by mounting evidence of starvation in Gaza, now say they will recognize Palestinian state. Let's see. President Trump himself, convinced that Gazans are starving, has sent his Mideast envoy to Israel for the first time in months to look at the chaotic food distribution system. So, as much as you go, that was doctored and everything, President Trump, the Republican MAGA president, is just like, with whatever intelligence that he gets, not just a New York Times article, but intelligence on the ground, he's getting information, He's like, hey, we should send some people over there to see what the hell's going on with this food and make sure children aren't starving. Let's see. Scholars are debating whether Israel's committing genocide. Yeah, no joke. Let's see. Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu has responded angrily to the growing skepticism. He has said that the reports of starvation are exaggerated, that Hamas must be destroyed, that critics are often anti-Semites, and that Western recognition of a Palestinian state is a reward to Hamas for the October 7th attack of Israel that killed more than 1,000 people, which, if you think about it, is like 372 9/11s. Or whatever it was that they said. That got me from the gate.
It's like saying there's a banana for size. We use 9/11 as the size comparison.
It is the banana for size thing. Well, that was, that's something that got me from the jump, because October 7th was horrible. Like, it was unequivocally horrible. You go, this is evil, like, you went after people who are Israeli that support you, that are like these old commies and kibbutzes, and these young kids at a music festival who probably also are very pro-Palestinian because they're young. And so, it wasn't about, it was about terror. It was about terrorizing, causing as much fear and pain to Israeli people as possible, more so than the government. It wasn't about soldiers, it was about people. So, you watch it and you go, that's horrible. But then from the very beginning, they're like, that's 17 9/11s. And you go, what the hell does that mean? They go, well, if you take the population of Israel and do the math to make it equal to the population of America, then you take how many died, do the same math on that, and then you divide that by the number of people that died 9/11, it's like 17 9/11s. And you go, that's stupid. That's not how anything works. Like, we go, hey, that's, I can't do the math that fast. It's like, hey, might be 17 9/11s, but it's only 1/6000th of a Holocaust.
Right.
It's like, you can't do that. Anyway, but that's the thing. Like, even with that from the get-go, it's just like, I don't like that. And it's kind of stayed on that sort of weird message. I don't know if they got a new messaging person over there, or if Netanyahu has gotten, like, to the point where his circle's gotten smaller, and maybe he's in charge of more messaging, and he's like he's old now. He's like an old curmudgeon, and maybe he's like, 17 9/11s, print it. I don't know, but so here's okay. The usual Israeli view is that the crisis is another temporary problem, said Nathan Sachs, an analyst of Israeli politics, but that's misreading of the world because it's accelerating a global turn against Israel that has dramatic effects, especially among young people. Okay, hold on. So So, yeah, since Israel cut off aid in March to try to force Hamas to give up hostages, Israel's efforts to install its own distribution system has been marred by chaos and casualties, while hunger has increased, scores have been killed, and as Gazans rush to get food. So it sounds like, even the efforts that they have tried to do for distribution, they probably get attacked because they're Israeli military in Gaza, and you're in the middle of a military conflict in Gaza. Let's see. No one has a clear idea how it will end, of course. The number of dead in the enclave has reached more than 60,000. Majority of them civilians. That's UN. There's other numbers that put it higher, 100,000. Some put it higher than that. Netanyahu has not outlined what he has in mind for Gaza or who should try to rule it. Instead of Hamas, he has refused to engage with the countries most likely to help out: Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Persian states. Trump's strong supporter. But even Mr. Trump has seemed shocked by the televised videos of hunger in Gaza, and some of his most fervent supporters are publicly questioning the relationship with Israel. So this guy, Daniel Levy, a negotiator under former Labor Party-led governments in Israel and current president of the U.S. Middle East Project as nonprofit. Okay, so this guy was part of Israel's government at some point, and there's chunks of Israel's government that is very left-wing and does not like Netanyahu or anything that they've been doing. There's chunks of Israel's government that doesn't think Israel should be a state. It's the Arab group. They're part of the government. So just being part of the government doesn't mean you're all on the same team, of course, just like in our country. So he was talking about how something has fundamentally shifted in how Israel's perceived. He points to a sharp culture shift with anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian, and sometimes anti-Semitic demonstrations at places including opera houses, music festivals, Billie Eilish, Ariana Grande talking. For a long time, Israel thought if we throw anti-Semitism and the Holocaust at them loudly enough, it will all go away, Mr. Levi said, or Levy. But the zeitgeist is shifting, and the Israeli attempt at outrage works with an ever smaller cohort. Here's the thing. 53% of Americans have an unfavorable opinion. So you're still basically 50-50. Let's see. I don't know. I think there was another quote in here I wanted. So, yeah, there is some styrene. Of course, for the cause doesn't matter. Diplomat Israel made fantastic bet on globalization. So, one thing this guy says is just that because Israel has bet heavy on their economy of globalization. They offer services. They've never really focused a lot on manufacturing, all that kind of stuff. They do a lot of tech industry stuff. They've got a good economy that's based on the global economy. But if all of a sudden the European Union is like, and then they risk losing America, good luck. Good luck. Let's see. I don't care about that. Don't care about that. Don't care about that. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. I guess that's it. It kind of ends on this. This guy, let's see, who's Mr. Herf? He's a emeritus professor of history at the University of Maryland. So he probably kind of has naturally a sort of anti-Israel tilt. But after World War II, the Allies aided German civilians, arguing that they had freed them from a mad dictatorship. Mr. Herf said, Israel should have come to Gaza to liberate the people from Hamas, the way the Allies liberated the Germans from the Nazis, he said. But now the world hates Israel. So
it's a fair point.
I think it's a fair point. Now, the Israel defenders would say, well, they've done polls in Gaza, and Hamas has support of 80% of the population or whatever. And so I guess, they all need to die or something. I don't know. Really, you make that point. But yeah, it is one of those things you go, okay, take it out. I think, especially after October 7th, take out Hamas. You chase them down in Iran, chase them down all these places. You go find these tunnels that are purportedly everywhere. You fill them up with water, kerosene, I don't care, whatever. Drown the rats out, set them on fire, whatever you do. Like, I think you could have gotten away with pretty much anything. Pour acid through the tunnels, melt them.
It's right up Mossad's alley.
Come on. but I think you could have done a bunch of that, and then, hopefully you have someone in mind to prop up, perhaps, for the new Palestinian leadership. Some leader of the community that goes, "Thank you so much for taking away Hamas. We look forward to normalizing relations," and blah, 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 blah. But of course they didn't do that. And of course Netanyahu doesn't want a two-state solution. He wants that land back, that waterfront property. That great waterfront property. It's wonderful property. And so they didn't. They just keep going. And so if someone came up to you, say, all right, have you seen the video of that beat down in Cincinnati?
Yes.
All right. So that's something. It was not great, but 3 a.m. outside of bars, things pop off sometimes. It's not so crazy to me. It's crazy that 900 people are filming it, only one called 911, but whatever. Anyway, so if you're squaring off one-on-one against a guy, right? You punch him in the face, he punches you in the face, maybe you fight a little bit, and then that's the end. People witnessing it, maybe even cops witnessing it, might just go, all right, break it up, let's go home, And people might go, hey, he hit him first. All right, well, he's the jerk. It's like, yeah, well, he said something about his mom. Yeah, all right, well, whatever.
They're both jerks.
Yeah, they're both jerks. They fought it out. It's all over. The attack, the response, kind of equal in weight. Now, you say, hey, don't you say that about my mom? Punch me in the face. And then 30 dudes jump you and start doing WWE drops on you and punching women and all this stuff. And people go, this didn't seem like a normal response. This seemed overboard. And that's the problem right now. One of the problems is, okay, missile strike comes out of Gaza. Well, it goes, boop, it blows up in the sky. Israel goes, takes out another building, maybe 3 nowadays. But the response is substantially more than the attacks. And, you could say, well, what if you were one of the parents of one of the people that was killed on October 7th? It wouldn't feel like the attack was, so small or whatever. Okay, fair enough. How many for you? And there's no right or wrong answer on this. Someone kills your child, a group of people. And you go, okay, how many people have to die for justice for this one, right? So you go, wow, the people that are responsible for killing the kid, obviously. You go, okay, obviously. It looks like that might be, we got 10 people directly involved, another 100 people kind of involved, and they're part of an organization that is 2,000 or something. And maybe you go, you get them all. You go, a little strong, but okay, I understand. But then you go, also, they have neighbors, and they've got lots of neighbors. So they may have heard something about it at some point, or they may have heard about it and not have gone, that was wrong. They might have been like, all right, go get them. I don't care. So suddenly you go, all right, well, I need you to kill 20,000 people, including children and women. Get them. At some point, it's excessive. It's just excessive. And if you're going to be horribly excessive, just do it and face the consequences. Like taking these little bites to pretend like you're not doing what you're doing. Like you're not destroying the entire region. Just dragging it out. I don't know. Maybe it makes it easier. Maybe it prevents an international response. I don't know. Maybe if they were to just go and just kind of wipe it off the planet, maybe people pop in real quick and go, yo, you're done,
But even still, so I look at it this way. So you have Hamas firing rockets, and Israel's complaining, hey, they fired a rocket. And like you said, they fired a rocket into a neighborhood, but it's because the Iron Dome missile launchers in the neighborhood. But also, I mean, Hamas's technology probably isn't that good, so their accuracy is way off.
It's horrible.
They fire a rocket, it's probably going to hit where they didn't want it to hit.
Yes.
And then Israel precision strikes, and it's like, they're the problem. And it's like, wait a second, you put a missile launcher in a neighborhood and expected an amateur to hit it.
Yeah.
What?
Well, at least with Iran had better weapons, but I mean, still nothing on par, but close. But Hamas, yeah, I mean, you can watch, like watching the videos when Live Leak was around. It's literally, it's literally the tube, like you watching a World War II movie or something, where you go drop it in the tube, and then it goes and pops back out. Like it's just going that direction.
Yeah, they're like this. Hope it hits.
I mean, pretty much, because like back the way those things work is you typically had a guy with a protractor and a pencil and pad, and they're making all these calculations. They go, I think we should do it at that angle. And then you watch, you go, let's make an adjustment, and then you do another one. It's not it's not smart weaponry. It's kind of hope and math. But the Palestinians weren't doing that, or Hamas or whatever. They were standing on a roof. They went, yeah! They didn't even wait for it to strike. They just cheered as soon as the thing launched out like it was a success. And then all of a sudden, and the whole apartment complex is gone. And you go, But yeah, now it's the fact that it's just still going.
And it's like they set themselves up to have the pity party. It's like you can't, like, even you were saying, if they just went in and blanketed the whole country,
Yeah.
they would still try to throw the pity party somehow.
I mean, probably, yeah. Probably.
Well, we had to completely wipe the entire country out because they fired one PVC rocket at us.
Like, Hamas had so thoroughly installed the terror tunnels throughout Gaza that there was not a building left standing that wasn't also a missile launch site. So the Palestinian people are welcome to return to their home, but we did have to take out all the military installations. There you go. That's what you say. But yeah, it's the victim thing. And of course, a couple weeks ago, Israel accidentally struck a Catholic church in Gaza. And so even the Pope had to come out and go, hey, how about some peace? You're killing our people now, and so they go, Israel goes, what was their exact quote? It was pretty funny. Oh, let's see. La 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 la. Something. Okay, Netanyahu said stray ammunition had hit the church by accident. Stray ammunition.
Come on, your stuff's accurate. Come on, man. Stray ammunition.
But like stray ammunition, that makes it sound like you dropped a bullet and it hit him. Like, shoot! I dropped a bullet out of the helicopter. It's gonna hit that guy on the head. Damn, stray ammunition. But it's like, I mean, even if it was if it's a gun being fired, and it shoots somebody, they don't go, well, that was stray ammunition. They go, whatever it's just not a term that is used. And if it's if the ammunition is enough to kill 3 people or whatever and go through the walls of a church, might have been more than just a little oopsie doopsie with the bullet,
Stray artillery shells.
That might be a better description. It's just, sorry, our artillery went off at the wrong target. We saw the thing on top and we said, I think that's a mosque. Ends up it was a church. Our bad. They go, oh, you're trying to hit a mosque? No. Of course, I was just kidding about that. It was a terror tunnel.
Our bad.
Our bad. Like, Prime Minister would like to assure everyone that was our bad. We'll do better.
Honestly, if they talked like that, I would probably believe them more.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's honest.
If they did come out and they just said, stray ammunition, if they said, well, we were firing artillery towards this, screwed up, we hit that, we feel horrible, sorry, and, they took some responsibility and kind of said that. But the whole stray ammunition thing is just like, okay, maybe minimizing it a little bit. But it's not all bad news for Israel. So this might be popping up. Well, here, we'll talk about it first. Or we'll read it first, and then we'll talk about it. It's from the New York Post, where you can get $3.99 Save-A-Lot deals. Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Egypt join calls for Hamas to disarm and exit Gaza to end the war in Israel. So Arab nations, including Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, join calls to disarm Hamas and give up its grips to Gaza in the 21-month war between the terror group and Israel. The Arab League, European Union, and 17 other nations are pushing for an end to Hamas's nearly 20-year rule over Gaza as part of a two-state solution aimed at preventing further bloodshed and suffering of Palestinians who are facing a humanitarian crisis. These stupid ads. In the context of ending the war in Gaza, Hamas must end its rule in Gaza and hand over its weapons to the Palestinian Authority with international engagement and support in line with the objective of a sovereign and independent Palestinian state, the declaration read. We supported the deployment of a temporary international stabilization mission upon invitation by the Palestinian Authority and under the Aegis? A-E-G-I-S? I don't even know what that means. Under the Aegis of the United Nations and in line with UN principles, building on existing UN capacities to be mandated by UN, blah, blah, blah. France, who cares? For the first time, Arab countries and those in the Middle East condemn Hamas, condemn October 7th, call for the disarmament of Hamas, call for the exclusion from Palestinian governance, and clearly express their intention to normalize relations with Israel in the future, French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot said. So, that, I think in here... Yeah, okay, whatever. So, it's... Go ahead.
What would BB do if he had nobody to bomb?
Oh, there's always someone to bomb.
He would just be in the just walking around the palace,
Going,
like humming to himself, all bored, like I don't have anyone to blow up.
I think he'd just walk around going, doo, 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 pew, They go on like, he's been doing it for hours. He's got these little sets of army men. He keeps throwing M80s at them. And then he just laughs and he laughs and then he does it all over again. We got him Jenga. And he just keeps building towers and putting people inside of it, throwing explosives at it. He said he wanted fireworks to celebrate Israel Independence Day or whatever. And no, he's just firing at his Jenga towers. Aegis is the protection, backing, or support of a particular person or organization. Aegis. Okay, whatever. That's our word for the day. You're welcome, people. Everyone is smarter now. So the interesting thing here is, word on the streets is that Netanyahu doesn't actually want the Palestinian Authority to have rule over Gaza. What would your thoughts be on why he doesn't want the Palestinian Authority to take over leadership there?
Because he would relinquish full control and risk another Hamas taking over.
I mean, that would probably be one of the arguments is they'd be worried about Hamas taking back over. Right now he doesn't have control over the area. But of course, on that hot mic, he talked about how it was so important to fund Hamas to make sure a two-state solution never was. It's very difficult if instead of the person you're negotiating with saying our founding principle is that Israel can't exist and should be eliminated from the map, you go, how am I supposed to negotiate with that? Instead, you have someone going, we'd very much like to have these sovereign lands that our people have been living in for a long time before you showed up, and we'd just like it to be our land. And then you have your land, and we live in peace. It's a lot harder to say, that guy's a wacko, And the Palestinian Authority is not perfect or anything, but it is one of those things where it's like, they're a lot closer to normal than Hamas is, and I think Netanyahu he has proposed, if you believe this, that Israel's military should occupy the area and kind of get it back in order.
Isn't it the same thing?
It's different because Israel's military will be in them streets, help, much like after Afghanistan, how like they had elections and stuff while our military was there, and so they were in charge. And they had their free and fair elections and all that kind of stuff, and the world celebrated. And then as soon as it was like, all right, y'all good to go? We're out of here. And then it was like, oh no, we're not good to go. Here comes the Taliban. And the Taliban promptly banned heroin again, and also banned the practice of assaulting little boys. I forget what it's called, but our military, when we were over there's people who got in trouble for killing or kicking the crud out of a guy. They walked in who was assaulting a young boy. And they said, oh, well, the practice is called blah, blah, blah. I forget the term for it. And it's part of their culture, and you just have to, we're not here to change the culture. We're here to do a job and get out, so you just have to deal with this. And so the problem is, like, even in negotiations, when you're negotiating with the Americans about whatever it is, not a military thing, it's just local leaders. And so parties like, okay, well, we're going to need this, and I need, a boy, or 2 boys, or 3 boys, or whatever. But it became part of negotiating where we would, all right, fine, you get a thing and the boys, see you later. And but the Taliban had banned that practice. And so when we were trying to win the hearts and minds of people in Afghanistan, we were just like, how about you grow heroin and diddle boys? People were like, I don't think they're all good guys. Anyway, so much like that, I kind of went off on a tangent, but much like that, I think that's kind of the Netanyahu solution is we'll let them get on their feet and elect a new government, and we will be there in those streets with soldiers, with guns,
Helping.
We'll be helping. We'll be liberators. But it'll be interesting because, like, this is the most pressure I've seen for a 2-state solution for a while. That the Abrahamic Accords that were signed by the Saudis and Egyptians, and I don't remember about Qatar. Did Qatar sign on? Do you remember?
Yeah.
I feel like they did. I don't know. I feel like they did. Egypt's been, but so that's the thing. It's like it's friendly Arab nations, and they're going like, all right, man, like, to the Arab people causing the problems, like, stop. Like, we don't have your back just because we disagree what's going on with Palestine. Like, we don't support you, though. We support your removal. You got to go. Hopefully that brings some pressure. I wouldn't be surprised to hear that maybe America had something to do with back channeling that, or maybe Trump is still trying to be supportive of Israel up front, still, sending an envoy to make sure that food distribution, because, theoretically, right, you say, I'm supporting Israel 100%. Israel's been trying to do this food distribution thing. It's been met with problems because of Hamas or whatever. And so, you're not going to undermine Israel. You're not going to do any of that. You're going to support their efforts to make sure that their food distribution processes to the Palestinians are successful so that no one starves. It's one of those, like, you can kind of go, there you go. I'm being a good guy. But if you are trying to speed things along, maybe you go like, look, we need y'all to step in here. Try to get Hamas out of the way. We got to get this thing over with. I'll try to get Israel to chill a bit. You get Hamas gone. Let's bring some peace to the Palestinians. I don't know. But it's interesting, and it's tentatively positive that they're calling for the end of Hamas. I don't know.
It's a good sign. I mean, I don't know what's going to come of it, but it's positive.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. Isn't that sad? That's where we've gotten. We're like, I mean, it's not bad, right?
I know Trump is sending the convoy about the food, but I'm surprised that he wouldn't try to be at the forefront of this with those nations, trying to be the great world peace creator.
Well, that is an interesting thing you bring up, because, like, what has Trump talked more about in this term? Like, what award does he want more than anything?
The Nobel Peace Prize?
The Nobel Peace Prize. And you think he's like, I should get it for, bombing Iran? I should get it for ending the war with Congo and whoever it was. Who the hell was Congo fighting with? Anyway.
Boko Haram or whatever?
I don't know. It was two nations, and they'd been fighting for like 20 years or something. But anyway, that war's ended. India and Pakistan, that cooled down quickly, and he kind of taking credit on that. So he's been, I was like, I should get a Nobel Peace Prize, and eventually maybe Russia, Ukraine, who knows there. But that is something where you go, hey man, if you really want a Nobel Peace Prize, if you could figure out this conflict, like a for real, like end this, stop Israel from maybe not destroying the entire homeland of these people and maybe tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, largely civilians. If you could end that and the solution actually gets to the finish line, and at the end of the finish line, whoever is in charge of Palestine isn't bombing towards Israel, and it just starts up again, in 5 months or something. Like, hey, I don't know. You win it. You win it. Like, hands down. If you can have peace in the Middle East, you win. So that is kind of a question of, is Trump going to...
Maybe he is in the background, like you said, and he's just waiting.
Maybe, because that's the problem. Like, in order to really end this and make changes, he will inherently have to say, like, to Netanyahu, you have to go, no, we can't do that. I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that. So you wonder if he's got the will to do that, to say no, just straight up no. I don't know.
Just going up against a guy who has all the connections.
Yep. The head of the nation that has spied on America more than any other nation in the world, including Russia and China. We don't know what they got on us. I mean, we might know some things, but it is like, it's how much, what do they call it? Like, political currency, he's got to sit there and go like, all right, if I push really hard for this, you're basically asking favors. Come on, Netanyahu, come on, Israel, like, this is me reaching out. I need you to do this for me. I understand I'm asking something huge. I understand you're going to have a favor coming back. So it's like, do you want to do that? And if it fizzles, does it neuter you so much on like the international stage and the national stage that it sinks anything else that you want to do? Because it's like, okay, you failed spectacularly, and you isolated yourself from all Jewish Americans who might vote for you. Now they're in opposition. Any strong supporter of Israel on the right, now you've isolated them from you. Like, your camp has fallen apart. Suddenly all you got, maybe you isolate yourself from the kind of anti-Semitic wing and the anti-Israel wing of MAGA. Like, I don't know. It's one of those things, like, you have a lot of ways it can go wrong, and so you have to have a good plan. Theoretically, I don't know. So I don't know. We'll see. Because if he can do something, prizes in the bag. You got anything else on Israel or anything before I just do a quick update?
Well, he did say he has a lot of Jewish friends when he first ran, so he stands to lose a lot of Jewish friends.
Yeah.
I think he said that's the most Jewish friends.
He has the most Jewish friends. Of course he does. some of these claims are kind of like Kim Jong Un or ill or whatever. So I have the most pornography in the world. You go, okay. Is that I guess you win? Cool. Yeah. Just a quick update on one of the things we covered last week with the whole Russiagate deal. They found, I guess Cash found a whole skiff full of information that was in quote-unquote burn bags that had not been burnt, had not been shredded. And they're going through that, and it's, I guess, damning. Some of the stuff they found, too, was they declassified a letter that was between George Soros people, like someone that works for George Soros, and the Hillary Clinton campaign. And this email pretty much just says, let's see, what's it written here? Well, it basically just says, like, hey, Hillary's got this idea, or like Hillary likes this idea about saying that Russia's trying to fix the election, and she says what we need to just focus more on the domestic issue, that Russia's trying to, fix elections, so it's a domestic issue, yada, 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 and that, she thinks it'll be good, it'll carry weight, and that the FBI will add oil to it. Now, two things on that. One, they're trying to say that they think the FBI will carry her water and pick it up and run with it to carry an obvious false planted story. But two, Charlie, you know about some cars and stuff a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You ever add oil to a fire? Isn't oil in the engine to protect it against all the heat?
Well, yeah, to keep it lubricated too.
Yeah, doesn't really burn that good. Might add gasoline to a fire, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. It's one of those things. Oil, that's not all right. I mean, diesel. You have a tank of diesel and throw a match in it and not have it catch.
Well, I guess when they're like drilling oil and if it sparks and catches, it's very hard to put out.
Yeah, and part of that's all the natural gases coming out and all that. But generally speaking, oil to a fire, that's not the expression.
Right.
It's wrong. Anyway, so that's we haven't seen the last of this. I think I don't know if anybody's going to actually get any trouble for it, but it sounds like if they really found a bunch of bags of classified info, I don't know. Let's see. I mean, it's just like all the Epstein info that they had. We'll see what comes out.
Well, yeah, but they found it in a burn bag. Okay, so do we just hold on to burn bags and we don't actually burn them?
I guess it was a skiff being used by the special prosecutor or whatever. So maybe it was something where people weren't authorized to go in there. But no, I would think the way it works is you put it in the burn bag is stored securely wherever, and then when they have their equivalent of the You Shred It truck come through, or whatever they do.
Or like a shelf life.
Yeah, there's something.
Like a classified shelf life or something.
Yeah, like this is marked for destruction. So the next time we have the robot coming through with the flamethrowers, like feed it to the robot, or whatever they do for it. I don't know. It is a bit suspect. You go, oh, that's cool. They found stuff, and you go, now how they find it again?
It's on Pam Bondi's desk.
It's on Pam Bondi's desk. So I don't know. They say there's some good stuff in there. I won't hold my breath, but it'll be interesting to see if anything comes of this. Hillary's not going to get charged with anything. I don't even know if it is a crime to... It's not a crime to make something up about somebody. It's not a crime to know that... I mean, especially not in... I guess it is a crime to, just purposefully lie, knowingly lie about somebody. But during a political campaign, I can't imagine... That'd probably be a hard one to really get through court. I mean, it would be civil. It wouldn't be criminal by any means. Even then, the... statute of limitations is well beyond. But yeah, I don't know if anything will come. Obama's protected. So these people, you can get conspiracy to blah, blah, blah. It sounds like it's going to be too big of a hill. But I think the most they can do is put out the information, maybe destroy the reputation of these people. But the problem is 40% of the country will think it's just all lies anyway, and because they don't like Trump, and so they'll just go, none of it's true. And so basically the 40% of the nation that already didn't like these people will continue not to like these people. Maybe another half of the maybe another 10% will go, hey, these people are bad. But yeah, pretty much I don't think it's going to change anything, but maybe, I don't know. Pay attention. Look how corrupt everything is. Keep that in mind. We need the government smaller so that these things don't happen, and they don't matter when they do. Well, that's going to wrap us for this week. Don't forget to like and subscribe and set alerts. Do all those good things. It helps us. It helps the algorithm get us to other people. So whether you're on the Spotifys or the YouTubes or the Rumbles or anything else you listen on, do the alerts and the likes and all that kind of crud. Charlie, what do you have for the fine folks at home?
Well, I got a fun fact here.
Okay.
Did you know that a day on Venus is longer than a year on Venus?
Oh, because it takes so long to go around the sun?
It takes about 243 Earth days for Venus to rotate once on its axis, while it only takes about 225 Earth days to orbit the sun.
Dang.
That's crazy.
Did you know that Uranus is bigger than Earth? I got facts too. All right, let's get out of here.